A good Thursday evening to everybody that's tuned into the Deep Dixie Racing Report, brought to you by Five Star Hyundai in Warner Robins. Of course, as always, we are broadcasting live from the Rescue Smokehouse Grill here on Exit 75, Interstate 75. Pastor Todd Sharon along with Dale Hall, and we've got a great show lined up for you tonight. We're very happy that all of you tuned in to be with us. We're chasing some good interviews tonight. I think that you'll really enjoy who the lineup consists of tonight. As a matter of fact, before we pray, let me very quickly just give you a rundown. We are chasing, and I feel like we are going to get him. NASCAR star David Ragan will join us coming up in about 15 minutes. We're going to have him call in, talk to him. Some big news surrounding David Ragan this week. As a matter of fact, so a very, very timely interview. Really a privilege to be able to talk with him, and we feel like that'll happen somewhere around 7:15. And then coming up around 7:30, give or take, we are very blessed to have some good friends of Dale and mine, Bobby and Kim Piper. These guys are the promoters of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series, and we're going to sit down with Bobby and talk to him. Actually, there's going to be, I think, about 3 drivers in that series that's going to be checking in via telephone tonight. And if I'm not mistaken, that's Dustin Miller, Jottie Burgamy, and Tyler Brown. All of those guys, front runners and winners in the Super Street division. And then coming up around 8:15, we hope to be able to visit with Mr. Travis Williams, and he is a driver out of the Albany Speedway area. And then we'll close out the show tonight. And I'm really excited about this one. Dale and I were talking about it as we were having supper. Around 8:30 tonight, the Lord willing, we are going to sit and visit with Mr. Ronnie Johnson, the Chattanooga Flash. Man, this guy is a legend in dirt track racing and still very, very competitive, winning races, and he races an awful lot. And so we can't wait to talk to him coming up in just a few moments. As always, before we go any farther in our show, with the Deep Dixie Racing Report, we want to open up with a word of prayer and followed by our national anthem. Before we do that, let me especially say that our prayers and our thoughts are with those people over there in Nepal. Last I heard, it was upwards of 5,000 people that lost their life in this devastating earthquake. And of course, rescue efforts continue. And we're hearing some very, very good news about some miraculous survivals. And they are still working very hard. And we just want to pray for that country and everybody that's been affected by that. One more thing before we pray. With everything that's been going on in our country just this week, especially centered up around our nation's capital in the Baltimore, Maryland area, there's so much discord. There's so much division, it seems, in our society right now. I want to say especially that we are praying for everybody that's involved. And just before I sat down to do this show tonight, of course, we're in a restaurant. That's where we broadcast from. There's a police officer with his wife and his young daughter that sat down to eat supper. And I couldn't help but just want to go over there and shake his hand and thank him for his service to society and what they do for us. And so we do pray for all of our law enforcement, all of our first responders, and of course, our servicemen and women all over the world. And let's just pray that God will bring some calm and some unity back to our society. Would you pray with me? Father, we thank you once again for life, health, and strength. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to come and to do this show, to have some fellowship and some good conversation. And we just ask that you be pleased with what we do as we talk about racing and we visit with friends. We ask that we can also be a bright light that is used to encourage somebody and to share your love with them. And Lord, we do pray for all of the people that's been affected by this earthquake. If there is anyone that is still alive, God, I pray that the rescuers will be able to reach them and bring them to safety. Lord, I just pray for everyone that has lost loved ones and and the carnage that is everywhere. I just pray that you will just have mercy on that country, Lord, and just give them strength. We pray also for our own country. I pray for every law enforcement officer, everyone that's in uniform, all of our EMTs and everybody that protects us and serves us. Lord, just be with all of these men and women as well as their families. And Lord, anybody that's sick in our racing family, anybody that's struggling with any kind of issues, and if we are alive and breathing, we do have problems, and we're just asking that you help us all, Lord. Let us turn to you. We cannot make it without you, and we're reminded of that over and over again. We thank you for your love and your mercy. We thank you for the death of Jesus Christ on the cross, and that we could be saved, and we just appreciate all that you do for us. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. At this time, we're going to honor America with the playing of our national anthem. And God bless America. Once again, we want to welcome everyone to our live broadcast of the Deep Dixie Racing Report, brought to you by 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins, Georgia. We appreciate the support that Mike Hurt and the staff gives us. And right now, I'll go ahead and tell you, they are the only sponsor that we have for the Deep Dixie Racing Report. If there's anyone out there that's watching, I think you can see by now that we're serious about this show. And I think this makes broadcast number 8. Is that right? So that would put us doing it about 2 months. And our plan is to continue. So if there's anyone out there that would like to come on board and partner with us in helping to sponsor in the Deep Dixie Racing Report, we sure would appreciate it. And we appreciate our friends here at the Rescue Smokehouse Grill. Each and every week I talk about this place. And first of all, it's a very, very big blessing to be able to come. And Raymond and Amy Poor, the staff that works here, all of them are very, very nice, sweet people. They've allowed us to have a little room here. And if you ever come and visit us live, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. To my left, there is a dining area, and this is where most of the people come and sit. But if you'd like to come out and watch live, we'd be glad to have you, be glad to meet you and shake your hand. We appreciate everybody that tunes in. And if you haven't had supper tonight, the Rescue Smokehouse Grill is on exit 75. They'll be open until 10 o'clock tonight. Pretty much anything that you want, you can get here. If you've got children, they've got things for them. If you're good and hungry and you want a big steak, if you want some barbecue, pork chops, all kinds of great things to pick from. And if you're just getting off of work, toward the end of the work week, everybody's tired, everybody's busy and running around, come on out here and grab you something good to eat. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Again, our thanks to our friends at the Rescue's Smokehouse Grill. Well, this past weekend, I think in reality, pretty much everywhere in our general area, certainly in the middle Georgia area where I live and around Cochran Motor Speedway, I think that our races probably were washed out several days before Saturday even got here. And I'm guessing pretty much everyone in the general vicinity could say the same thing. However, there was a couple of very cool things and what Dale and I would consider notable things that have happened in the racing world over the past week. And the first thing that is really pretty big news, and it's incredible that we're going to have this gentleman on as a guest here in just a few minutes, Mr. David Ragan. There was a big announcement concerning David Ragan, and it looks like that he is going to finish out the year with Michael Waltrip Racing, which is a pretty big deal. And we had actually hoped to get David on last week. And of course, sadly, we lost Marvin Ragan, who is David Ragan's uncle. And we certainly understand that. And so we pushed the interview back a week. And Dale, it worked out perfect, man. Some big news surrounding him. And of course, all of us here in Middle Georgia, David from Unadilla, just maybe a half hour or so down the road, not far at all. We all pretty much hear about him often. He has a dealership, or did have a dealership in the area, and the Ragan name was pretty synonymous with racing around here. Of course, Ken Ragan, back in the day, you'll remember him on the old Winston Cup series. And so when we get to talking with David here in just a little bit, it's going to be interesting to see how everything shook out. And we want to get his thoughts on what has happened thus far in the year. Still early in the year and not too late for a transition. And that Toyota team, man, Michael Waltrip Racing, those guys are for real. Got some of the best facilities in the garage area, and definitely got the support and the sponsorship. So we'll be talking about that. And then I guess the next thing, Kurt Busch, who everyone knows the beginning of the year, a day or so before the Daytona 500, man, everything is set up and ready to go. And without being redundant, going back over everything that surrounded him, there was obviously some bizarre allegations and that sort of thing. And of course, NASCAR and probably public opinion, they felt that it would be best if Kurt Busch didn't race. And going into the 2015 season, man, literally, I believe it was the day before the Daytona 500 that the news came down that he was suspended. And of course, these allegations and accusations kind of played out on all of the network television, and the tabloids got a hold of it. I'm not here to say who was right or wrong in that, but I do know that Kurt Busch was very, very glad to get back in to the Haas Automation Chevrolet, and he come home with the win this week at Richmond International Speedway, and he won pretty convincingly. And the Victory Lane interview I thought was pretty cool. And whether you like him or whether you don't, that was pretty big news. And he has put himself right back into the mix of things as far as the chase goes. And I got a feeling that's probably not going to be the last win for Kurt Busch this year. I know there's a lot of other things probably that have happened as far as far-reaching in the world of dirt track racing. But in our local area, I can tell you that coming up, I think we've got a big show planned at Swainsboro. They're going to be making it up. Golden Isles is going to be in action again. Of course, East Alabama Motor Speedway, our friends over there in Phoenix City, and Cochran Motor Speedway. We will be hosting the Troy Talley Memorial Race, and we will also be welcoming our friends Bobby and Kim Piper with the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. Matter of fact, Bobby and Kim here with us tonight with their young granddaughter, Chloe. And we're going to be sitting down with Bobby Piper here in just a few minutes, and we'll get into some of the details about the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. Dale, if you want to, let's see if we can get David Ragan on the line.
He's actually going to call us.
Okay, he's going to call us in just a few minutes. While we're doing that, let me also tell you that we have had a lot of rain in the area. Not just us, but everybody. And guys, now is the time to go and support your local dirt track. Anytime that we have rainouts, especially when it's later in the week, these track owners and track promoters, they really take a hit. Can you imagine all of the advertising dollars? You've also got all of the food that you're trying to line up. You're trying to make sure that your help is there. And there's just a whole lot of things that go down right to the wire. And some of that stuff doesn't have a long shelf life. And so now that it looks like that we're going to have some good weather, at least in our area, I believe that it's supposed to be sunny, highs up in the 80s, and hopefully wherever you're at, the weather will be nice as well. Go out and support your local track. These guys have really taken a hit over the last 30 days or so. Beginning of the year is always a little bit iffy. We've still got kids in school. A lot of people haven't got their cars back ready. And in the beginning, it's hard for some of the tracks to get some momentum going. And then you mix in a couple of rainouts. It's always difficult. So wherever you're at and wherever you live, we encourage you to go and support your local track. Again, for those of you that are just joining us, this is our 8th episode of the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Normally, I'm joined by my buddy Brian Hester, and Brian does a great job. Brian is a truck driver for a living, and it's quite amazing that he's been able to make it as much as he has. And, of course, our friends Carolyn and Leo Johnson, part of the team, they'll be getting here just a little bit. But we also want to thank everybody that has tuned in. We don't always have time to talk about this, but we've got a moment before David calls in. If you have seen the Deep Dixie Racing Report, we can tell you that we want to do a good job. We are not married to one specific approach of how to do this. We are trying to listen to you. If you visit us on Facebook, if you go to the deepdixieracing.com website, you have an opportunity to leave a comment. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, we'll do our best to get to them. We've got a ton of people that are watching. And as far as feedback, pretty much wherever I go, which is mainly around Cochran. But Dale, I'm hearing some good things about the show. Of course, we can always do better. We don't think that we've got it figured out. But I think after 8 episodes of the Deep Dixie Racing Report, we've been pretty blessed.
The guests have been awesome.
Absolutely incredible. The people that we have been able to call in and talk with, I mean, the list, I don't even know if I can remember them all. Red Farmer comes to my mind. Mike Head comes to mind. We had an opportunity to talk with the late Davey Allison, his son, Mr. Eddie McDonald. And tonight we're going to be talking to the Chattanooga Flash. Ronnie Johnson, man, that guy. Clint Smith, that's right, the Cat Daddy. He called in, talked to us a few weeks back. And so we are absolutely thrilled with the response and the willingness of the guests that we've been able to have on. And if you'll leave us some suggestions, we'll do our best to get them. The best we can do is we can try to track them down. And that's why you will often hear me say that we are efforting one guest or another. But while we've got a minute, just before David Ragan comes in, and by the way, if you just tuned in, we are expecting a call any minute from Sprint Cup star David Ragan, who has some big news that broke just this week. And we're glad that we're able to have him join us. Of course, Talladega on the Sprint Cup schedule this coming weekend, always a good time at Talladega Motor Speedway. There's something exciting about that place. We'll be talking to Bobby and Kim Piper, promoters of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. Mr. Travis Williams, a driver out of Albany Speedway, going to be joining us around 8:15. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Ronnie Johnson, Chattanooga Flash, driver of that familiar number 5 car, scheduled to join us around 8:30. But coming up this Saturday at the track that I work at is Cochran Motor Speedway. We are going to be remembering and honoring and celebrating the life of a very cool guy. He was a very, very good race driver and a friend to many. His name was Troy Talley. And let me tell you how much that Troy loved racing. He passed away toward the latter part of last year. And when the day of the funeral, the day of the memorial service, the hearse made a detour and came to Cochran Motor Speedway. And there were quite a few people there. It's even been videotaped. I'm sure you could find it on the website. And in honor of Troy Talley, because he was a racer at heart, they made a few laps around Cochran Motor Speedway. I thought that was so cool. And of course, this coming weekend, we've got a lot of racing on tap. And probably the biggest news about that is the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series is going to be rolling in the Cochran Motor Speedway. But we're also going to be remembering a very, very special person. And if we have any family or friends of Troy Talley that's tuned in tonight, we want to tell y'all, man, that we thought the world of Troy. And I called many races that guy was in. And when I say that he was a great racer, that is not trying to be nice to somebody that's passed on, but this guy was the real deal. Absolute grinder out there on the racetrack, and we certainly do miss him. And having said that, we really appreciate our racing family. We may duke it out a little bit. Ain't no if about it. It happens, and it'll happen again. But when it comes time to step up and support somebody that has suffered a loss, then we all know how to come together. And that's exactly what we're going to do this Saturday at Cochran Motor Speedway. And for those of you that would like to come out and enjoy some good racing in the Middle Georgia area, head on down to Cochran. Going to be a great night of racing as we honor, remember, and celebrate our friend Troy Talley. Another thing that I wanted to mention, anytime that you're doing a show like this, there are track promoters out there. You've heard me mention about track owners. There are people that are promoters with traveling series. We were able to talk with the folks at the All-Star Stock Car series. That is Carol and Leo Johnson. That is for more of a pure stock / hobby division. They're doing real good with that, getting upwards of 40, 45, even over 50 cars at some of these shows. People are responding to it well. If you are a track promoter and you're in our general area, we know that we cannot do this for everyone, and we want to make that clear. But there are people out there right now that I know that are watching. Maybe you've heard about our show. If you've not heard about the show, you've certainly heard about DeepDixieRacing.com. If you'll leave us a comment, we'll do what we can to give you some love. We want to be able to help you. We feel that when we help the racing community, that it's helping our show. It's helping our endeavor. And so if you're out there, you're a track owner, if you are a promoter and coming off of a couple rainouts early on in the year, if you've got things coming up that you need to get out there on a little bigger scale, I can tell you we've had a great response to the Deep Dixie Racing Report. And we really feel like that a lot of people are tuning into that. And hopefully you can be able to give us a name, a contact number. And if we have the time, we will be glad to put you on and let you tell us about your racetrack or whatever you've got coming up. As a matter of fact, let's do this. While we've got a minute, David Ragan, and of course we understand David is a Sprint Cup driver. Big news surrounding David this week. And they are down in Talladega, so obviously he's pretty busy. And we feel like we'll get David to call in soon. But while we're doing that, so that we don't belabor the time, Bobby, come on up. Joining me right now is a friend of mine. Not only is he a friend, but he is, along with his wife, he is the promoter of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. Bobby, it's good to have you tonight, man.
Good to be here. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you. Now, Bobby, for those that may not know exactly what we're talking about, and I feel like everyone in the general area does know about the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series, tell us a little bit about it, how you got started, how long you've been doing it, and some upcoming dates.
Well, what we did as a racer myself, every track in the middle classes of cars all had different rules, and I like to travel around and race, money races that paid money. And every track I went to, I'd have to change something on the car to make it legal. It was not. So honestly, the goal in the beginning of the series was to create a uniform set of rules for the Super Street class, to try to get more tracks to migrate to the same rules so that all the competitors would have an opportunity to go around and have a shot to race for some money. That was the reason behind it. Well, as it started, we've been, we've had good success with that. At this point, I think we have 5 racetracks who have kind of adopted on our rule system, which was the general goal. But it's kind of took on a life of its own now. We have some of the fiercest competition, I have ever seen. I think each year we've had 8 to 10 races, and we've averaged 6 to 7 different winners out of those. We've had very few repeat winners each year.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, I'll name some guys off here in a minute who have been our champions, and I'll tell you their total wins with the series. And you'll know these guys' names because they are good and they win.
Right.
And they don't have, they don't have all the wins. I mean,
right.
They have wins and they have some of the championships, but it's a very equal series. In fact, this year we've gone to a board format. We have our board of directors for our drivers who are kind of in charge now. I've stepped down as the man in charge per se. I'm still involved heavily, but I wanted to race against these guys, and there was a conflict of interest. You can't have the guy calling the shots racing. That's,
exactly.
I just never felt like that was the right way to do it. So I haven't competed in it up to this point. But this year I get to race against these guys.
Gotcha, man. If you're just tuning in right now, first of all, we welcome you to the Deep Dixie Racing Report. And I'm joined right now by Bobby Piper. Bobby is the promoter of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. And that particular series, when you mentioned a little bit earlier, Bobby, about trying to keep everything uniform, that is a big deal. I hear racers all the time when we have a long weekend or something. There may be a couple races, one Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. There's always a chance you may tear something up. We understand that. There's always the financial part of it. But often I hear things like, we would go over here and run tomorrow, but we got to change so much on the car. We got to get more tires. We've got to change the shocks, this, that, and the other. And so what you're basically saying is anybody that comes to run with the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series, once you get that car ready to pass tech, get it race ready, then you can pretty much do, and you're going to be good on tech and inspection.
That is correct. If you meet our rules, the tracks that participate in our series and so forth, if they have a big event that's not a Southern Outlaw event, just like Cochran during the year, they have their Coca-Cola Shootout, which is a 5,000 to win race in July, which is huge for our class of cars.
It is.
Well, if you're Southern Outlaw legal, you're legal. You don't change anything. You don't have to do anything. Screven Motor Speedway over in Screven, they have some big races through the year the same way. If you're legal for us, you just go race at Screven as your car is. Same way, Swainsboro's rules are pretty much close to the same. You can go race. They're not a track we race at, but if you're legal for us, you can race at Swainsboro, like for their big races. And the same way with Oglethorpe Speedway, Modoc Speedway of South Carolina. So it's a great thing for the racers. I wished a lot, the old mentality of promoters of keeping your rules where your guys can't go race anywhere else, it hurts both sides. It hurts the promoter because they can't bring in extra cars when they have a big event.
Right.
But it hurts the racer as well.
We're being joined by Bobby Piper with the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. And I want to echo something that Bobby said a minute ago. Bobby, I don't know how long we've known each other, but I have had the privilege of calling many races that you were in. And Mr. Willis Wombles, who in my mind is a legend like anybody else that we would consider a legend. Mr. Willis, a great friend of mine. He is often in the tower with me on Saturday. He's our PR director at the track, and he's the voice of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. But I can tell you guys, this is not some kind of infomercial to try to get you hyped up. I remember last year, Mr. Willis was calling the race, and I came down and stood on top of the top step of the concession or the grandstand area. Normally, I don't get out of the tower, Bobby. You know how busy it is. But when Mr. Willis calling the race, I came down, and Dale was filming the race for Deep Dixie Racing, of course, the video. And he and I both commented, it was probably one of the best, if not the best, Super Street race I've ever seen. I know that there was Dustin Miller, Jottie Burgamy. These guys raced each other lap after lap after lap. I don't think they ever touched. No. And when we tell you that these guys are fierce competitors, they are. Bobby, if you will, David, do we have you on the line?
Yeah, we do. How are you guys doing this evening?
We're doing great. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined right now on the line by Sprint Cup star, Mr. David Ragan. David, Pastor Todd Sharon here with the Deep Dixie Racing Report. We're so very happy that you joined us. And Bobby, if you'll just stay up here with me, we'll continue this. Ladies and gentlemen, David Ragan on the line with us. David, I know that you're very, very busy. I'm guessing you're in Talladega and all that goes along with being a Sprint Cup driver. Tell us a little bit what has happened this week. I know that there was some pretty big news that dropped, and we can't believe in our little corner of the world that we will have a little bit of your time to talk about it the same week.
Well, I guess it's good you guys are from the state of Georgia, because I probably wouldn't have been able to make it happen. But
right on.
I always try to take care of my friends and family in the States, certainly in the South Georgia. That's even more important than up there around the metro Atlanta area. But no, we had some exciting news with me regarding the rest of this season and potentially a couple of seasons going forward. Signed an agreement with the number 55 Michael Waltrip Racing Team, the Aaron's car. Looking forward to driving that Toyota coming up starting next weekend in Kansas for the remainder of the season. Obviously, I've been filling in for Kyle Busch for a few races while he's been out, and timing was just right. I knew I was coming down to my end with the 18 Joe Gibbs Racing Team. Kyle's not quite ready to come back, but he is soon. I had some conversations with the 55 bunch. Obviously, their driver, Brian Vickers, has been in and out with some illness over the last couple of years, and so they finally were able to work out a release with Brian. And I think that, Brian's taking care of his health, trying to get back on the road to recovery and getting his health built up. And certainly it would be great to have him back in a race car, but it presented a good opportunity for me to go over to the 55 car and try to keep this momentum going that we've had to start the season and try to make a run for the chase. Absolutely.
For those of you that are just tuning in, man, did you ever tune in at a great time? We're joined right now on the line by David Ragan, Sprint Cup driver. David, I do appreciate your kindness, and everybody that has ever met you has talked first and foremost about what a gentleman you are. And without even having to bring it up, you immediately talked about Brian Vickers, and we definitely want to ask you a few more questions about the racing end. But from those of us that are out here that follow the sport, and there are fans of Brian and fans of you, how is Brian, and does it look like that he may be able to get back this year at some point?
I have not spoke to Brian, but just through talking to some of the folks at Michael Waltrip Racing and Michael himself, I think Brian's got a great attitude. Obviously, he's had some issues with blood clotting. He's been on and off some blood thinners, and obviously, it restricts what you can do, how you can travel when you're taking blood thinners. So, that's what's kept him out of the car a couple of times over the last 2 years. And ultimately, there's a point in time where it's very difficult to build certainly a season and a program from a sponsorships point of view, and from a race team perspective, with a driver that's kind of in and out. So Brian's a young guy, got a lot of talent, and hopefully he can get his health straightened out. And yeah, I think there's a chance he could come back. It will not be in the 55 car, but I think the Michael Waltrip Racing Team are very fond of Brian, and it would be a great opportunity for them to get their third car back, in running order, and that would be a big asset to myself and to Clint there at Michael Waltrip Racing.
Very well said. Folks, we're joined right now on the line by David Ragan, and David just this week announced as the driver of the 55 Aaron's Toyota, and he will be taking over driver duties not this weekend at Talladega, but the following weekend in Kansas. David, just looking at it from a fan standpoint, I remember well when Toyota was breaking into Sprint Cup racing, and there was a lot of people that probably didn't give them a whole lot of chance to make it. And of course, there was the old adage, made in America type thing. There was a lot of obstacles to overcome. But I remember well that Michael Waltrip was one of the first guys that was all in with the Toyota team. And obviously the record speaks for itself. It's definitely right up there competitive. You being a driver that has pretty much driven every make, how does it feel, and how do those Camrys, how do they stack up against the Fusion, the SS? Is there a big difference, or what can you tell us about it?
You know, there's not a great deal of difference. NASCAR does a really good job keeping all the manufacturers in line, and certainly to keep the competition level very close across the board. You certainly don't want any manufacturer to have an unfair advantage. Chevrolets have consistently been strong over the years. Certainly Ford's got a deep history in their heritage, dating back to Henry Ford and building race cars. They're a big racing family, and Toyota's done an excellent job coming into the sport. They've spent a lot of time and effort and money trying to develop their engines and bodies, and really have done a nice job. I've seen that firsthand over the last month or two. The work that Toyota Racing Development spends on their NASCAR program, and I think that it's encouraging to see how much involved Toyota Motor Company is in the U.S. They produce a lot of their cars and trucks in the U.S., employ a lot of people, obviously got a lot of cars on the roads. And so even though that their home office may not be based in the U.S., they're as big a U.S. company as Ford or General Motors is. So I think that, that perception has certainly changed some over the years. And I think that the Toyotas are strong, that the Camrys have a lot of horsepower. They're aero-wise, they're pretty solid. So they're good, no question about it. I think that NASCAR ultimately, they do a good job controlling all three manufacturers to try to keep them in line. Absolutely.
Those of you that are just joining us, we're on the line with Sprint Cup star David Ragan. He will be the driver of the 55 Aaron's Toyota with Michael Waltrip Racing beginning in Kansas a week from this coming weekend. David, I have followed your career, and one of the things that really made me like you, I guess, was first of all the way that you treat people, and then of course being local around here is much easier to kind of follow up with your family. You have been a player at the top level of racing for a while, but this year being asked to come in and fill in for Kyle Busch with Joe Gibbs Racing, absolutely a marquee team. And now, just on the heels of that, when you talked about the timing, Michael Waltrip Racing, man, that has got to be one of the premier teams, one of the premier rides in Sprint Cup right now. What does it feel like to be the driver, and how does it make you feel to come into it like this? It looks like everything has just worked out perfectly.
Well, timing is very important in motorsports, and in every career and line of work, I guess, in this world. It's very important to have timing on your side. And so at the beginning of the year, I was scheduled to run for Front Row Motorsports, a team that I've driven for the last 3 years. And we didn't really know what our schedule looked like this year. Our sponsorship, we had a limited races sold and didn't really know what that was going to be. And it just was timing that, Kyle had his injury, was going to be out for a little while. I knew some of the folks that worked over at Joe Gibbs Racing. They had confidence in my abilities to step in and fill in for Kyle for a little while. Then obviously the problems came back with Brian, and then the 55 guys were looking at more of a full-time replacement. Brett Moffitt has been subbing the last several weeks and been doing a great job. He's a young kid that doesn't have quite the experience needed to probably jump into a full-time Sprint Cup program right away. And so timing was again on my side, and as I was winding down my obligations for the Joe Gibbs team, I was able to work a deal with the Aaron's number 55 car. So couldn't be more happy to have everything set in stone for the rest of the season and going forward for a little while. We'll have a lot of opportunities to work hard, to test, to practice, and really just try to execute and get us a win, get us some points to try to make this change.
Got it. David Ragan joining us right now. Some big news surrounding David, some really good news. And, of course, we do want to keep Brian Vickers and also Kyle Busch in our prayers. Hopefully these guys will get real soon, get back up to full strength. David, you have been a proven driver in the Cup level. And you mentioned about going into this year, not real sure of how the schedule was going to look. Now, obviously, there's no question about that. That's something that doesn't weigh on your mind anymore. My question is this: how does a driver maintain his edge, really, when it comes down to it, not knowing if he's going to race next week or not? How do you do that?
Well, you just have to focus and have some confidence that things will work out. I mean, certainly nothing's guaranteed in this sport, but you just gotta work hard, gotta stay, in front of the learning curve. And for me, being a young guy, health has been on my side. I've been very fortunate to be healthy and not have any setbacks, injuries or anything else health related. So I've been very fortunate and grateful not to have to worry about that, but just really worked hard to try to learn as much as I can and be ready when a team calls or when the opportunity comes up. And so been able to be a part of the Sprint Cup Series and the Xfinity Series for several years, and really have learned a lot, and still feel like that I've got a lot to learn, and just trying to perfect what you do every weekend. But in order to go out and be competitive and race, it takes a great team and great sponsors, and I've been really blessed. And I was a late teenager and in my early 20s to have some good people around me that certainly give me some good opportunities to go and race.
Yeah. Well, we're joined right now by David Ragan. David, we know you're very busy, and we don't want to overstep our boundaries. I think Dale Hall, my buddy here, is saying we've got about 2 to 3 minutes. I don't want to let you go until we first acknowledge last week, of course, some sad news. Your Uncle Marvin passed away, and we all know that you are a man of faith. You're a family man, and the roots run deep here in Middle Georgia. Your name is associated with racing. Everybody knows it. And I guess what we want to do is we had a tribute of sorts last week in honor of Marvin, and one of his good friends, Luke Yoder, came on and gave us some great insight. My question is, how are you and your family doing? How's everybody getting along?
Well, we're doing okay. We certainly miss Marvin. He's been a big part of my racing career, and even my father's, and back into the 70s and 80s when Marvin had owned some dirt cars, and he was financially the reason that Dad and he were able to purchase their first NASCAR race car back in the early 80s, and raced a lot, and obviously ran and part owner in Watermelon Capital Speedway for the last 8 to 10 years. So definitely a racer at heart. Was a big part. And me as a kid racing. He's got a son, Brett, that's my older cousin, that has really helped me a lot on my race cars over the years. Worked on some of our teams at Ralph Finlay Racing when I was a rookie in the sport. And so definitely he'll be missed by a lot of the racing people in this area. He's helped a lot of kids over the years, a lot of grown-ups, fulfill a lot of dreams and have a lot of fun on the short tracks and even at the big tracks. So definitely he lived a good life. He did struggle with the cancer the last year and a half, but outlived a lot of the doctor's expectations on how much time he had left. So his son, and he's got a daughter and a wife still here, and I think they're all doing as well as can be expected. He'll certainly be missed, but he's in a lot better place now.
Absolutely. Joined by David Ragan. David, we've got just about a minute, and we're going to let you go, man. We really appreciate you taking some time out. We'd love to talk to you all night. real quick, Michael Waltrip and super speedways have kind of been synonymous. We all go back to that 2001 Daytona 500. You have had great success on super speedways. Does this look like the perfect recipe? I know that we're going to miss out on Talladega, the spring race, but Daytona coming up in July, and then we'll go back to the big Talladega Speedway. Is there any extra excitement in your mind when you see that on the schedule, knowing your success and Michael Waltrip's success?
Yeah, I wish the Daytona 500 was this weekend, but Michael's been very good on the restrictor plate tracks. Maybe definitely can shine a few lights on a few things that he's done well over the years. And I think the biggest part is just having some good teammates, having a good race car underneath you. But yeah, going into this weekend, I feel really good about our chances with the number 18 M&M's Camry, but really excited just to start working with the new guys over at Michael Waltrip Racing and having a lot of fun. I think that obviously going to Daytona this summer will be 6 or 8 races down the road, and we've got plenty of time to develop some chemistry and start working on things. So I definitely look forward to it and look forward to having some fun.
Absolutely. David, we cannot thank you enough for taking time out to join us, man. This is a very, very big deal for us down here. We're just off of 75 on exit 75, man, just a hop, skip, and a jump from your stomping grounds. And we are overjoyed, elated, and thrilled that you have landed this ride. And I know that everybody's pulling for you, and we know that you're going to make some noise in that Camry before it's all over with. Thank you again so much, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again real soon.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys having us on. Thanks for all the support that you guys give to us down here in Middle Georgia. We enjoy calling it home and look forward to running across, catching up with you guys again some point later in the season.
Absolutely. God bless you, David, and Godspeed to you, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right, you too. All right. Race fans, that was David Ragan, and you're definitely, Bobby, how cool is that?
That was awesome.
I mean,
let me just say something. I was listening to everything, because I'm all into that. You asked some of the most perfect, awesome questions you could have asked. I just want you to know that. Those were spot on. That was an outstanding interview.
Thank you, Bobby. High five on that, man. All right. Dale, you heard that, didn't you? I want to raise. Now, what I was going to tell you is we replay these shows on the Deep Dixie Racing Report, and Dale Hall, who is back here just a few feet away from me and Bobby, he does a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and he can redo these shows so that if you don't have time to sit from start to finish, you can actually click on to a certain spot like David Ragan or Bobby Piper. You can go to that and you can catch the whole interview. But man, what a great guy, and what a great turn of events. Of course, we do pray and genuinely pray for Brian Vickers and Kyle Busch, and these guys are, they're superstars, and I know that they'll be back when God is ready. But we are so overjoyed to see that David Ragan moving into that. So go back and catch that on the rerun, deepdixieracing.com. Now, Bobby, you and I, we're going to get right back to our conversation. We left off talking about the importance of being able to have the same rules package, and I think that everybody that was watching then probably heard that. By the way, if you're just joining us right now, Bobby Piper and I were going to continue our conversation. We had started, got a phone call from David Ragan, and Bobby was kind enough to yield so that we could talk to him. But this coming weekend, Bobby, we got a big show at Cochran Motor Speedway. I don't know how the races are when you go to these other tracks, but they're off the chain when you come to Cochran, man. Some of the hardest yet cleanest racing I have ever seen. You were talking about some of the stars in this series and the wins. Tell us a little bit more about that in the parody.
Well, let me start first. This is our Troy Talley Memorial Race this weekend, which you elaborated on that. So all you guys, you know what's happening there. Tell y'all a quick story about Troy. I've raced against Troy great competitor, goes back to the clean racer. Troy is a Southern Outlaw winner. In our inaugural season,
Wow.
Troy Talley was one of the winners in our Southern Outlaw Series. So it's truly an honor to be able to recognize Troy. And he's also a Southern Outlaw. He is one of us, and we get to recognize him, and we're excited about that. We thought the world of Troy. Let me give y'all a quick story about Troy and tell you the kind of person he was. My wife always handled the drawing, and we do it with a computer. And it's a 75 numbers, and everybody's always worried about that high 75. Well, Troy comes up to my wife and says, I need to draw a number 1. What should I do? She said, well, if you stand on one leg, jump up and down, and turn around one time, you'll get it. Well, y'all are not going to believe it. We were at Screven Motor Speedway. He stood on one leg, he hopped up and down, he spun around hopping and hit the button, and darn if he didn't draw number 1. I kid y'all not, that is a true story. We cannot make that up. The computer can't be altered. That really happened.
Kim, I want some lottery numbers.
That was Troy Talley in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah.
Fierce competitor, but the friendliest, nicest guy you ever met. Another, our inaugural season, our champion was Jimmy Sharp Jr. Everybody knows the name Jimmy Sharp around Georgia in racing. His daddy and him, they're fierce competitors.
Right.
Jimmy Sharp Jr. was our 2012 champion, and he has 4 wins in the series. That as good as he is, 4 wins is a lot, but he only has 4 wins with us. So, that shows you the level of competitiveness that's out there. No one can come in and really dominate. And then our 2013 champion, our second year, was Jottie Burgamy, who should be coming on with us a little bit later. And he has a couple of wins with us in the series. And then our past champion from 2014, Dustin Miller, it's kind of a neat story with Dustin. In 2013, he won his first race with us at East Alabama. The car was 5 pounds light after the race. Well, he didn't get the win. And then there was another win later in the season, kind of the same tough call situation. He didn't get the win. Most people, after having 2 wins basically taken away like that, would get mad. I'm never racing with them again. I quit. The heck with them and that sort of thing. The 15 guys and Dustin Miller, it gave them an invigorated fire that we're going to show these guys that we can beat them. They come back with 2014 with a vengeance, put together 3 wins last year, which was, doesn't sound like a whole bunch, but against this level of competition, that is a big deal. And they were the champion last year. So you have to tip your hat to somebody who can take it on the chin, go home and do some work, and come back and prove a point and win the championship. And
keep a good attitude.
Exactly.
We're joined right now by the promoter of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series, Bobby Piper. And the next race will be coming up this weekend, Cochran Motor Speedway, as the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series rolls back in. And we will be honoring, remembering, and celebrating the life of Troy Talley. And as Bobby mentioned, Troy was and will always be a Southern Outlaw Super Street family member. Now, Bobby, I know that we want to get back to some more stats and everything, but I want to change gears right now. Okay. This guy is a humble guy. He's not going to say this, but I'll say it for him. When I think of Super Street, the names that you mentioned, I see these guys race every week. You got Kyle Conyer, you've got Dustin Miller, you got Justin Sapp, you've got Jottie Burgamy, Jimmy Sharp Jr. We could go on and on and on. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. Don't be offended. But this guy right here, Bobby Piper, one of the strongest Super Street drivers that I have ever seen. And I'm not just saying that to make you feel good. Bobby, you were pretty much the man to beat there at Cochran and still are. A few years back, you had a pretty nasty crash. And I hate to bring that up, but I know that you raced after that, and your intensity, your wins, your fire, everything, it didn't seem to go down. If anything, it went up. How did that affect you?
That's a good question. You caught me off guard. To be honest with you, I haven't told many people this, but I've seen the video because Dale was, I was fortunate. He was there. He videoed it. So I can tell you from the video everything that happened in that accident. But in here, I have no memory of that accident. I remember the initial wreck. I got in the wall. That's all I remember. I don't remember anything about it. To be honest with you, I don't really remember a whole lot of anything until I was actually at the hospital. My wife says that I talked the ambulance driver's head off and gave him a description of every lap of the race up to the wreck, all the way to the hospital. That I broke down every lap, what I did in the turns, everything. I have no memory of any of that. So from that perspective, you know, it really don't affect me so much in the car wise because I don't remember it, I guess. Now, I'm in the auto body collision business. That's what I do. So I see wrecks every day, and everybody says, I can't believe you would get back in it when it puts you in a wheelchair for 8 months. Well, you know, you could drive out on the street tomorrow and be in an unfortunate automobile accident there. And I'm going to tell y'all now, I'm a firm believer in the man upstairs, and I just believe it was not my time. Had it been my time, it would have been done. I just, you know, I'm not going to live my life in fear that something bad could happen because, you know, I put my, you know, my thinking and my beliefs in his hands and say, when it's my time, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. Something will come about that'll make that happen. And that's, I guess that's how I get it.
Got it. That was a good answer. And normally I wouldn't ask something like that, but I know that was a big deal, man. And for those of you that don't know, badly broke leg, and there was probably some other things involved there, but getting back up to the topic of the racing. Now, the last couple of years, and I know because I've seen you when you've come to Cochran, you have been up in the tower, helping out with the receivers, the scoring, whatever needs to be done. And by the way, for those of you that may be tuning in, Bobby Piper joining us, promoter of Southern Outlaw Super Streets. I'm up there behind the scenes, and it's a whole different world when you get in that tower. And I can tell you that Bobby, one of the most, I guess, the most genuine, thoughtful, everything that happens, you're looking at it from every possible perspective before a call is made. And my question is this: how did it feel from going to just winning pretty much every time you got in the 5-car? Then you get involved with the series, you kind of move into a leadership position there. What did it feel like that first night when you were up in the tower and they were getting ready to drop the green flag and Bobby Piper is standing up there looking out a window? How did that feel?
It was very difficult, and it ain't got no easier. I'm just gonna tell you, and that's why I'm getting back in the car this year, because that, you know, and I'll tell you why, because the level and the bar in the Super Street Series has raised to such a competitive level that, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When I'm running with them this year, if I can get a win, I will be a happy camper. And it ain't that I feel like I can't. I feel like I can beat anybody that's on that racetrack once I strap into that race car. But the level is that tough. I kind of tie it to like Western Cup with Dave Ragan and them. To win in that is just, it's tough. It's been hard the whole time to sit up there and watch and call the race. I did love to call the race though. I'm very assertive on the receiver. I don't play no games. I don't show no favorites. You know, but I really wanted to be in the car with them.
Yeah. Those of you that are just tuning in, we're joined by Bobby Piper. He is the promoter, along with his wife Kim, of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. And Bobby, before we let you go, I know that
you want me to stay up there while we call Jottie?
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead and call Jottie. I was looking at Bobby's food. He's got a plate of ribs over here on the side here. But this coming weekend, we're paying $1,500 to win. Is that right?
Yes.
In the Southern Outlaw. So any Super Street drivers, man, guys, that you're licking your chops, head on down to Cochran Motor Speedway and mix it up with the Southern Outlaws. Jottie, Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How are you, buddy?
Pretty good. How's it going there, Pastor Todd?
We're doing good, man. You are live right now with us. And Jottie, we're joined by Bobby Piper. Him and Kim and their little grandbaby, Chloe, came down to visit with us tonight. And Jottie, you're a local at Cochran Motor Speedway, and we've been talking about the level of competition and how fierce it is when they drop the green flag in the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. You're a former champion. As a competitor, from your perspective, how does those races feel, man, being out there grinding it out with everybody?
I'm going to tell you something, Pastor Todd. We're all like a tight-knit family, but when the green flag drops, man, look at here. There's 10 or 12 at any given time that can win a race, and it'll make the hair stand up on the back of your neck when the green flag falls.
Absolutely, man. Jottie, we were just talking. Dale and I were able to watch a race last year, and I believe it was you and Dustin Miller. Y'all must have ran 10, 12 laps, if not more, side by side by side. Nobody ever touched anyone as far as I could see from where I was standing. From a fan's perspective, as a racer, what does that feel like?
Man, it don't get no better than that. I don't know if there's a word to describe the feeling. It's that group of guys we race with is just, you just give and take. And, most of them will give you a little room, and you give them room to race. And it's just good, clean racing. I guarantee you it'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Absolutely.
We're joined right now on the line by former champion in the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series, Jottie Burgamy, and, of course, the promoter of the series, Bobby Piper here. Jottie, now I know that over the last few weeks at Cochran, we've had several rainouts, and we had a couple of weeks when we really weren't points racing, giving everybody a chance to test and tune. But right now we are pretty much full reel and official in the racing season. How close are you to being back with your Super Street car, man?
Well, I've actually teamed up with Mr. Stacy White this year from Hiawassee, Georgia. They come down last year and run, a partial schedule with us, and I got to talking to him over the off season, and he was wanting to run all the races, and I was in the middle of a job change, and we kind of worked a little deal out, and I'm going to be driving his car for him this year.
Okay. Will you guys be there Saturday?
Yes, sir. We will definitely be there, and hopefully in contention.
Okay. As far as paint scheme and numbers, what can you tell us about that?
I've seen it. I've seen pictures.
21.
We're kind of going to let it be a surprise.
Wait a minute. So y'all are changing it from the 21 to the 77?
We haven't decided if it's going to be 7217 or 21 or 77. But no, he asked me about that, and we're going to go with his number. It's got a lot of meaning to him. I think that was his dad's number, and I told him I didn't have a problem with it. I just like to drive.
That's awesome right there, Jottie. So basically, let me ask you this question, because I know Stacy. They've run with us, and obviously I know you're one of my past champions. Who put y'all together? How did y'all end up in conversation?
Well, he had actually talked to, I think it was Jason Floyd. He had talked to Jason and, was calling. I think he was actually asking about some rules. And, he told Jason that, his driver was kind of iffy. He didn't like to travel that far. And Jason pretty much, texted me and asked me if he could give him my number. And I said, sure. And he called me, and look at here. Matter of fact, they come down last weekend and spent the weekend and actually helped me put the body on my car.
I'll be.
We're joined right now by former Southern Outlaw Super Street champion Jottie Burgamy on the line, and of course Bobby Piper, the series promoter, here with us live at the Rescue Smokehouse Grill. Jottie, this particular year, when you go into a situation and it's a little different than what you've been used to, and by that I mean it sounds like you got a great chemistry with this guy. Obviously, there's mutual respect. But when it comes down to just putting the hammer down, man, do you drive any different when it's your car versus somebody else's car?
No, sir. That was one thing. I told him, I try to be a clean driver. I try to, race everybody just as hard as I can race them, but there's that respect there. And I told him that the only way I would drive his car is if I drove it just like it was mine.
I got you, man. I would expect nothing different from you, Jottie. And listen, buddy, we really appreciate you tuning in and calling in, talking with us tonight. And this is going to be a big, big deal coming up on Saturday. The Troy Talley Memorial Race as Cochran Motor Speedway welcomes the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. And Jottie, as always, a great job. We wish you the best, man, and say hello to your family for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, Pastor Todd. And I'm telling y'all come on out Saturday night. It's going to be a show you don't want to miss.
We'll see you Saturday, man.
Right on. All right. God bless you, Jottie. Have a good one, man.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you. Jottie Burgamy on the line. And I tell you, man, I love it when we talk to somebody like that. It's one thing to hear somebody say something, but when you have seen this man race as much as we have, he's absolutely telling the truth, man. One of the best drivers as far as car control that I've ever seen. Jottie knows what his car is going to give him, and he can get the most out of it. And Dale, who are we going to bring up next?
Dustin Miller.
All right, Dustin Miller, another great, great gentleman. Bobby talked about Dustin overcoming some adversity, some technical stuff, missing a couple wins by a hair because of not passing inspection. But a great guy, and also one of the stoutest race drivers that you will ever see.
And our 2014 champion.
Right.
Hello?
Dustin, Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How are you, buddy?
Doing well. How about you?
We're doing good, man. We're joined right now on the line by the reigning Southern Outlaw Super Street champion, driver of the 15 car, Mr. Dustin Miller. Dustin, I'm here with Bobby Piper right now. And first things first, right out of the box, man, we want to congratulate you on bringing home the championship in a very, very competitive Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. With that kind of history, what does that do for your momentum coming back in 2015?
Well, we definitely, had a really, really good year. Everything really went our way, and we had a good call all year and was able to pull it out. So it definitely gives us a lot of momentum going into this year. Hopefully we'll have the same kind of good fortune moving forward.
Yeah. Dustin Miller on the line with us right now, driver of the 15 car. And, of course, Dustin, you have been teamed up with Mr. Danny, and that car is always a threat. I got to tell you, man, it kind of threw me off base a little bit. Week before last, we got rained out last week, Dustin, but I was looking at the 15 car, and Dustin Miller was not behind the wheel. It was Jimmy Grantham, and Jimmy brought the car home to a win. But tell us a little bit about the history between you and Mr. Danny and how you guys got together, and what makes that combination so lethal?
I've known him pretty much since I started racing, I guess 12 years ago now. I just grew up knowing him around the racetrack, and I think Jimmy used to drive for him back then, and the seat came open, so they talked to me about driving, and I was more than happy to. They're great folks to go to the racetrack with, and definitely bring me a good car to drive every week.
Absolutely. And, Dustin, for those that are local and maybe even a couple of the surrounding tracks, a lot of people may not know it, but you'll make an occasional late model start too. I know that several times you brought the late model out to Cochran and always fared very well. Any plans to be back in the late model this year?
Yeah, I've got a new car that we've been running. Well, it's gotten rained out more than I ran it so far, but I've been running it in Swainsboro in the crate class. So, yeah, I'm going to kind of run the series with the 15 car, and then I'll be in my own car, down there in Cochran some as well, running the late model deal.
Absolutely. We're joined on the line right now by the reigning 2014 Southern Outlaw Super Street Points champion, driver of the 15 car, and one of the cleanest drivers I've ever seen, Bobby. One thing about Dustin Miller is Dustin almost never makes a mistake. And when I say that, I have watched this young man race. If it hasn't been from the beginning of your career, Dustin, it's been close to it. And you can see, I mean, he just does not make mistakes. And several times we talked to Jottie, Dustin, just a minute ago, Jottie Burgamy was on the line. And I believe it was last year, Dale and I and Bobby and I were talking how that you and Jottie, man, y'all ran side by side, lap after lap after lap, and such ultimate respect for one another. We asked Jottie what that felt like, and I want to ask you, what's it like racing in such close quarters for such an extended time?
Well, it's definitely fun racing with people like we have in the series because, everyone has a mutual respect and been racing for a long time. Good drivers have good cars. So, that's one good thing I like about the series. You can run with people like that. And yeah, Jottie and I, that's probably one of my favorite races I've ever been in because, man, we battled the whole time. But yeah, it's just everyone out there, like I said, have good cars, good drivers, and there's a mutual respect between everyone.
Absolutely, man. And I think that is, I think that's evident for anybody that has ever seen them. For those of you that may be tuning in late, just getting into our second hour right now, we are joined live by the Southern Outlaws Super Street promoter, Bobby Piper, and his wife, Kim, their granddaughter, Chloe, here with us, such a little sweetheart. And on the line, the reigning 2014 Southern Outlaw Super Street Points champion, driver of the 15 car, Dustin Miller. And Dustin, in just a minute, I'm going to let Bobby talk to you. But before we do that, I want to change gears here for a minute because we do know you, watching you race local. Some of us that are veterans of the racetrack and go down there every weekend, we know your family. And your mother, Margie, got to be one of your biggest fans. Your sister, her husband, and your aunt. Sadly, just a few years back, we lost your father, Mr. Dennis, and what a great guy, man. And he fought the good fight. He was up there every single week, pulling for you and everything. If you could put into words, what does it mean to a driver to know that you've got that kind of support?
Man, it means the world to me because, like you said, I have great family support. I can really only think of maybe one time that my mom has ever missed a race. Mm-hmm. In fact, I always joke that I could be playing in a chess match over in China and she'd be sitting on the front row cheering me on. But yeah, my whole family, though, they've always been great to support me, and it really means a lot, to have a good run out on the racetrack and be able to look up and, see them, taking it in with you and being there to support you.
Yeah. That is absolutely true, man. And what a great ambassador for the sport. I've had the opportunity to interview you several times, Dustin, and in victory and just other times as well. But on that note, I want to get you up on a Saturday night real soon and let you do the behind the wheel driver interview with me. But I know that Bobby is probably got a few questions that he wants to ask, but we want to tell you, man, we are very, very honored to have you as the Southern Outlaw Super Street champion. And Bobby, I don't think you could get a finer representative, man.
Absolutely not. I've been very blessed in that department with the champions that we've had. We couldn't have had any finer representative. Hey, Dustin, I just want to put it kind of in perspective for the fan out there who may be listening. I've had an opportunity to win an Alabama state championship myself, and I try to relate that to people. To me, I relate that like a Daytona 500. That's the best way I can give people to give them a perspective of what that felt like for me as a racer. Now, with that said, winning in the Southern Outlaw Series with the caliber of drivers and such that's there, what could you relate that to so that fans could realize, number one, how hard it is to do it and the feel that you get from the competition level?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's almost for us, it's like, winning at Daytona or something. That track is just, I don't know, it's just a grand stage. I mean, it doesn't matter whether, it's an Alabama State Championship or National 100 or the series, race over there. It means a lot to win at that place because it's such a grand stage and a very, very popular track in our area.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, and then as far as like winning outlaw races also, you've won one in Cochran this past year. Those things are hard to get. you know, and you did get 3 of them this past year. I mean, you know, how did it, I guess, how did it feel to you in the end when you secured that championship after that win in Cochran?
I mean, it's really hard to describe because, you know, like you said, at our level, you know, we're racing against the best of the best week in and week out. So to be able to get out there and, you know, win 1, much less be able to be fortunate enough to win 3 like we did, it means a lot. You know, winning that was probably kind of one of the highlights of my career so far, just because of the level of competition and the caliber of drivers that compete in it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And, you know, and I tell you, from the time I started this thing, you know, I've had the champions, you know, we've had Jimmy Sharp Jr., we've had Jottie Burgamy, and we've had yourself. I couldn't be, you know, any prouder than to, you know, call any one of you 3 guys, you know, the champions of my series, and I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate those words.
We're joined right now by the reigning Southern Outlaw Super Street Points champion, Dustin Miller, driver of the 15 car. And Dustin, I want to tell you, man, it's always an honor to speak to you, buddy. And again, man, I want to thank you, aside from the racing part, of just how you handle yourself. You just know that when you see Dustin Miller on that track, you're not going to see any foolishness. You're not going to see anything. As a matter of fact, before we let you go, Dustin, I want to ask you this. Every time I've ever seen you race, no matter what happens, I have seen you be calm. You may be raging on the inside, but you have always handled yourself like a gentleman, whether you're in the car, whether you're out of the car. And that's been from the beginning. How did you get that? Is that something that you just decided in your mind that win, lose, or draw, no matter what, you were going to take it and you were going to try to come back and do better the next week? Where'd you get that, buddy?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something, you know, since I started competing in anything, I've just tried to always be a humble winner as well as a humble loser. And like you said, I'm not always calm on the inside, but you just have to keep in the back of your mind there's always next week. And, you know, it's not going to always go your way every week. So you just have to come back and kind of take what you get that night and come back the next week with a fresh start.
Well said. Very well said. And I can tell you this, man, from an announcer standpoint and from a fan standpoint, long after somebody forgets a win, a loss, or a wreck, they're going to remember when somebody reacts bad or good. Absolutely. And I can tell you, man, Dustin Miller at the top of the list on that, an absolute gentleman. And Dustin, we know that you're busy, man, and I also know that your alma mater, Southern University, and our thoughts and prayers and condolences go out to you and all of the school down there on that terrible tragedy. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of you. And Dustin, we really, really appreciate you taking time out to call us, man. And we wish you the very best, not only Saturday, but throughout the rest of the season on the Southern Outlaw Super Street Trail.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right. God bless you. Have a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, the reigning Southern Outlaw Super Street Points champion, Mr. Dustin Miller. Man, it has been a great show, Bobby. It's only 8:20. We still got a ways to go. I tell you what, let's do, if it's all right with you. We still want to talk to Tyler Brown. I'm going to talk to Andy Stewart, but I know that about the time you came over here, they brought your food. Right. We're going to give you a chance to go grab you some supper, and we're going to shift the lineup just a little bit, and we'll bring you back in just a little bit. Man, I appreciate it. Awesome job, and he'll be back in a minute. Bobby Piper, the promoter of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series, they will be rolling into Cochran Motor Speedway this coming weekend for the Troy Tally Memorial Race. And if you can come down there and be a part of it, guys, it's going to be a great time. It looks like the weather is going to be gorgeous, and I promise you the racing is going to be off the chain. You don't want to miss this one, Cochran Motor Speedway, coming up this weekend. Dale, let's see if we can get Travis Williams on the line. While we're doing that, let me thank our friends at Rescue Smokehouse Grill, Exit 75, Interstate 75. They're going to be open until 10 o'clock tonight. Outstanding food, a great atmosphere, and a wonderful staff to take care of you. Come on down here. Travis, Pastor Todd Sharon, Dixie Racing Report. How are you, buddy?
Doing good.
Good, good. Thanks for joining us tonight. Man, I don't think you and I have had an opportunity to meet yet, but Dale Hall spoke very, very highly of us. Just so you can fill us in about your racing, first of all, tell us where you race, what you race, how long you've been racing, and that sort of thing.
Well, I race at Albany Motor Speedway and Needmore Speedway, and I've been trying to also follow the All-Star Stock Car Series. And I've been racing for approximately 25 years. Pretty much I've always been just a weekly racer, but I've kind of gotten a little bit excited about the All-Star Stock Car Series and when trying to figure out a plan where to race most of their series races.
All right. So obviously, if you're running that series, then you are driving in what we would know in Cochran as a pure stock, but I guess other tracks call it a hobby. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Okay.
And it's a very competitive class. There's a lot of new cars been built the last year and a half, and it's a very competitive class.
Yeah, man, you said that right. Joining us right now on the line, Mr. Travis Williams, and Travis is a hobby driver that races primarily at Albany and Needmore Speedway. Travis, I wanted to ask you, man, I know that the All-Star Stock Car Series, and of course we are very close to that because my teammates, Carol and Leo Johnson, they are the promoters of that. They draw as many as, I heard 51 cars to one race. Another event, I think there were high 40s. What that means is that the guys that run on a week-to-week basis at local tracks, if you follow this series, no matter how big of a hot shoe you are at your local track, if you don't do your homework and get it done, you won't be racing. You'll be loading it up and watching the race. How does that feel as far as pressure goes to a driver used to racing and making the field every single Saturday?
Well, it's I knew the competition level was going to be extremely high, and I really look forward to the challenge. But it is kind of mentally breaks you down a little bit. But it's really a lot of fun when you race with the level of competition that's following the series. Jottie Burgamy and Lance Floor, Barry Frames, Kyle Livingood. When you mention those names, and you do not make the field, and you look at the total field, you do realize that you're racing against true all-stars.
Yeah.
In our class. And it makes you go home and realize you might have to do a little bit more homework before you go to the next race. but it is a lot of fun, and I like the family atmosphere, which is what we've always promoted at Albany Motor Speedway. And I've just got to meet some of the other drivers this past year, but that's what I've really enjoyed about it, is family atmosphere.
Yeah. We're joined right now on the line by Travis Williams. He is a driver in the hobby division. We were just talking about the tough competition. Now, Travis, one of my really good friends in the racing community is Mr. Ben Sumner, and Ben, one of the greatest guys I've ever met. And of course, Ben with the Southern Thunder Lake Model guys, they've come to Cochran a couple times. And matter of fact, they were there just a few weeks ago, and I think they're going to be coming back. I love the times that I've been to Albany. Always a good race up there. Give us an idea, and by comparison, you mentioned some of the guys, Jottie Burgamy, you've got Michael Davis, you've got the same guys that pretty much follow the series. Any given night at Cochran, we're probably going to have at least the high teens or maybe even into the 20s as far as a field in the pure stock. Now, where you race at in Albany and Needmore, is that about the same way? Is there always a healthy field of cars?
Yes, we've been having about 17 in Albany and about 21, 22 in Needmore. And I was over at Needmore watching this past Sunday and got to looking at the competition, and there was probably 12, 13 cars that could easily win a race on any given Saturday night.
Right.
And at Albany, there's probably 7 or 8 cars that can win at Albany also. And in the show level of competition, when the all-star drivers come in, one of them usually does pick up a win.
Yeah.
Which shows the quality of drivers in that series.
Yeah. I remember the time, man, that any touring series was pretty much limited to a super late model or a late model. And that has changed as time has went on. As a matter of fact, we're joined, if you've been watching, Travis, we're joined by Bobby Piper, who's the promoter of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. And then, of course, Carolyn and Leo, they got the All-Star Stock Car Series together. And again, we are seeing a series that is affordable, that is exciting. It produces great racing for somebody in your class. And like you said a little bit earlier, most of the time, you know, if you show up at Albany or you go to Needmore, or even Cochran, you're going to make the field. You may be in the back if you have problems, but in this format, when you've got 40 plus cars, even as many as 50 plus cars, and you know, they're going to start 24, 26, whatever they do. That's got to be a lot of pressure, man. And my question is, how many of the All-Star Stock Car Series races have you competed in, and how have you done, Travis?
I've actually went to one in Brunswick and actually three. One in Needmore, Brunswick, and Lake City. And it seems like where I was the points champion at Albany last year, never had any mechanical failures. It seems like when I went to all three of those races, just seemed like everything hit at once. So it was really kind of a disaster for myself, but I really would like to go back and try some more of them. I haven't given up on going to be competitive because I feel like I could be competitive. I just got to get my equipment in a little bit better condition to go to these big races.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good, man. And I didn't realize you were the points champion, and congratulations on that. We're joined right now on the line by, he is the hobby points champion up at Albany Motor Speedway, Mr. Travis Williams. And Travis, one of the things that I always try to do on this show, we understand that nobody can do this alone. Racing is an expensive sport. I mean, when you think about fuel, you think about tires, getting you and your family and your crew into the speedway, you can easily spend, you know, $600, $700, $800 before you even start the car. And that's hoping that you don't tear anything up or nothing goes wrong. I know that you being in this, a veteran 25 years, there's a lot of people that help you out, man. And we want to give you an opportunity to give those folks some love and some exposure right now.
Well, over the last couple of years, I've had Darrell Kent Garage help me out with my engines. And mostly over the years, I've been very fortunate and have a group of crew members. We all just kind of pitch in a little bit of money along to keep some decent tires on the car. And really, I've been fortunate done all this without a lot of sponsors over the last years, and tried to race on a tight budget. And it's getting a lot harder to do than what it used to be because of the cost of everything. But kind of like Dustin Miller was saying, I've grown up around racing as a kid. My family, my parents are around 75 years old. They're there to support me at every race. I think my mom just missed one with a knee operation. And then I've had two girls that's 27 and 22 that's been with me at the races ever since they were born, basically. And I've got a grandson that's 7. But I've been fortunate all these years. And for instance, right now I'm sitting out, had broke a crankshaft a couple of weeks ago in Albany. But I've been amazed at the support I've gotten of different competitors that have offered to loan me their engines so I could continue racing. Which, you know, I've always done what I could to help fellow racers, and it just really means a lot to me. The phone calls and messages I've received the last couple of weeks, people offering to help me out just so I can continue doing something I love. And we've always done it as a small family operation, and I just feel like I'll be able to continue doing it in the near future. It's just getting a lot harder than it used to be.
Yeah, I know, man. There's something about the racing family, and anybody that's not in it or anybody that's not been around it long enough to really see for themselves, it is incredible, the camaraderie and how that everybody does take care of each other. And Travis, I want to tell you, man, I have never met you personally, But if you ever come to Cochran, man, if we get enough time, I'd love to be able to sit down and talk to you. We appreciate you taking some time to join us on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. And we wish you the very best in 2015, man. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you again real soon, buddy.
Okay, I sure do appreciate it.
All right. God bless you and have a good evening, buddy.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. There he goes, Travis Williams. He is the Hobby Points champion up at Albany Motor Speedway, talking about the All-Star Stock Car Series. Man, there's just so much going on right now that different traveling series that have got some traction and got a couple years under their belt. Bobby Piper with us tonight. He's going to be coming back, be talking to a couple more drivers with the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. And for those of you just joining in, this is the Deep Dixie Racing Report, brought to you by 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins. A big thank you to Mike Hurd and all the folks down there. Award-winning service at that dealership. Go check them out. Dale, let's see if we can get a hold of Mr. Ronnie Johnson, the Chattanooga Flash, man. I have seen this guy race a long, long time, and very, very excited that he has agreed to spend some time with us tonight on the Deep Dixie Racing Report.
We're trying.
We are efforting Ronnie Johnson, and if we do not get him right now, then we'll try to come back and revisit him in just a little bit.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice message.
Okay, obviously busy right now, but we are not giving up. We're going to try to track him down, Mr. Ronnie Johnson.
Get Bobby back up.
Yeah, when Bobby comes back, we'll get him back up here and we'll continue our conversation. Once again, if you are just joining us, this is the Deep Dixie Racing Report coming to you live here from the Rescue Smokehouse Grill, exit 75 on Interstate 75. These guys are going to be open, let's see, about another hour and a half. If you've not had anything to eat, maybe you got to running around after work or you're just getting off work, come on down here and check it out, man. A good staff. The food is outstanding. These guys and gals are award-winning barbecue competition cooks, and they've done a great job with this place. They were located in downtown Ashburn, and as far as I know, they have been in this location for about 90 days, 3-4 months maybe, and we've been coming down here. This is our 8th show. Been keeping the Deep Dixie Racing Report going on Thursday evenings, 7 to 9. And we appreciate all the folks here, Raymond and Amy Poor, as well as their staff from the Rescues Smokehouse Grill. I tell you what, let's do, Dale, let's get Bobby back up. Bobby, if you can, come on back up and join us. And we appreciate Bobby Piper being with us tonight. And it's a real good time. And Bobby,
Hey,
let me tell you.
say something right quick, Dale, before you call him. You were just talking about Rescue Smokers right there.
Mm-hmm.
First time I've eaten there tonight, guys, let me tell you, I just had some of the best brisket you have ever put in your mouth. If you guys haven't been down here and tried this place, I'm telling you now, it's no wonder they won grand champion at the Big Pig Jig. That brisket would melt in your mouth. I'm just telling you.
It is true. This is it right here, guys. The Rescue Smokehouse Grill. And, you know, it's really cool to be able to talk about something and mean it. You're not just trying to advertise. Let me tell you what we're going to do, Bobby. Appreciate you being flexible. We're going to try to get Ronnie Johnson on the line again. If you will, just hang in here with me. If we can get him, we'll talk to him. And if not, we'll continue to talk about the Southern Outlaws. I will tell you that we are trying to get a hold of Andy Stewart and Tyler Brown.
Call Tyler now.
You want to? Okay, let's do that. Our thanks to Jottie Burgamy. He is a former champion in the Southern Outlaws Super Street Series. Also, our reigning champion, the 2014 Southern Outlaw Super Street champion, Dustin Miller, joined us. Again, thank you to David Ragan, Sprint Cup star. Some big news happening in his life. We'll be the driver, the 55 Aaron's Toyota Michael Waltrip Racing, beginning at Kansas. And also a big thank you to Travis Williams. Man, what a well-spoken guy, nice guy.
Hello?
Hello, Tyler. Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing good, man. Thanks for carving out some time to be with us tonight. Of course, we are live with our webcast, and we're joined by the promoter of the series that you race in, Mr. Bobby Piper, sitting here beside me. And we're glad that you could join us, man. I want to start by saying, I remember, was it last year? Was that the $5,000 race? Tyler, that was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And from the standpoint, first of all, $5,000 payday is a big deal in any race. But to do it in anything other than a late model, that's almost unheard of. I was there that night, Tyler. That was incredible. Tell us about that win.
Well, it's like you said, it was incredible. I mean, you know, I had actually about a week before that race decided that I wasn't even going to go. I had been so frustrated with how the last few weeks had been going leading up to that race, and then I had a friend call me and told me to bring the car over to his shop and that he'd help me go over it and do some stuff to it, and I carried it over there, and then lo and behold, we went down there, and when we unloaded for practice Friday night, I mean, we knew that we had a good car. It was super fast, and went out and set on pole and set fast time, and then ended up leading all 40 laps. And it's like you said, I couldn't even imagine that we would have been able to do that after the few weeks we had leading up to that race. And it's just a big team effort that weekend, and everything just fell in line. I mean, to win a big race like that against the competition that we race against, everything has to fall perfect, no mistakes, no parts failures, and that was the kind of weekend that we had.
Yeah, man, I'll never forget that either. We're joined on the line right now by Mr. Tyler Brown, and Tyler and I talking about that huge win in the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. Tyler won $5,000 last year in a Super Street race, and as he said, man, racing is a tough game. Not only does it get into your pocket, it gets into your head, and wasn't even going to make the show. And Tyler, you said something very, very interesting. I don't know if you've been tuned in, but Bobby and I have talked to Jottie Burgamy. We've also talked to Dustin Miller, and we're probably going to try to get a hold of Andy Stewart before the show is over tonight. I think the common thread that's running through all of our discussion is just how tough the competition is. There are no weak links in the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. And Tyler, you are a front runner. I know that because you raced quite a bit with us at Cochran. But as far as your participation with the Southern Outlaws, obviously that was the biggest win probably of your career. But how have you fared otherwise outside of that win?
I mean, we tend to run, good, top 5 car most of the time in the series races, and we run second in points last year, and I always kid. I think I always kid with everybody. I think I have more third place trophies than anybody else from the series. So we seem to be pretty good at running third. It's like you said. There's no weak links with that series. You have guys. If you put the resume of the guys that race in that series on the table, then there's countless wins, and not just regular weekend wins. I mean, big race wins, and when you come, you better bring the A game.
Yeah, I know, man. We're joined right now by Tyler Brown. He's one of the drivers on the Southern Outlaw Super Street Tour, and incidentally also joined by the promoter of that series, Bobby Piper. And the next race coming up for the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series will be this coming weekend. It's going to be May 2nd at Cochran Motor Speedway for the Troy Talley Memorial Race. And Tyler, I wanted to ask you, man, we watch you race. Anything that I've ever seen you run in, you're competitive. You're a smart driver. You don't tear a lot of stuff up. You know what the car will give you, and you get the most out of it. Going into 2015, are you going to try to make every one of the Southern Outlaw races? Are you points racing? Are you going to be racing when you can? Tell us about your plans.
We plan on racing all the series races. We'll be at every one of them, and most likely, we'll hit Cochran and other big races that we have with the Super Street car too. So we'll make all the Super Street races, and then we have I had a friend that happened up this winter and let me get some seat time on a late model, and we're going to venture out and run a few late model races too. And that's something new and interesting, and we're going to try it out a little bit.
All right, sounds good, man. Well, Tyler, Bobby's here, and I'm sure that Bobby's probably wanting to chat with you a little bit. Before we do that, Bobby, how many races have you guys had in 2015 so far?
This will be the first one.
Oh, it's the first one. Okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought.
Kickoff event.
Yeah, so real important that everybody gets out of the box with a good start, especially those that are running for a championship. But Bobby, you being the promoter, you're up in the tower, you're seeing these guys, you know what's going on in the drivers' meeting, and you see them at every event. And Tyler, the runner-up in points, and of course with that huge win. From what I see about this young man, he's another one of these guys that you don't hear a whole lot out of him, but when he gets behind the wheel, you can look for that car to be up front pretty much every week.
That's absolutely correct. Tyler, along with Jottie and Dustin and Andy, who will be on later, I mean, just like Tyler said, any one of these guys, there could be a champion at a racetrack somewhere, or past champions at racetracks somewhere. You're putting it on against the best, but the biggest thing that I see that I've seen with these guys, because this will be my first year. I mean, I've raced against them now because they have come to Cochran and raced with me, and Dublin and raced with me, and all to be able to race with me. But the biggest thing that I see, and I kind of echo what a lot of them say, is respect. And to be honest with you, and it's like I've always preached to these guys in the drivers' meetings, the people in the stands don't come to watch caution laps. They always talk about, just like you've mentioned a half a dozen times tonight, about the side-by-side that Jottie and Dustin had last year at Cochran. Well, a few years back, Tyler and Jimmy Sharp Jr. had that very same scenario in Dublin, where they ran side-by-side for lap after lap after lap after lap. And the fans talk and get more excited about that and those tight passes and stuff than if these drivers could understand that they don't care to watch you run one lap, spin out, ride around under caution, and all that. We're all there to do it for the fans, and racing against somebody like Tyler. I mean, I'd be on his outside in a minute and wouldn't think twice of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Absolutely.
And would we maybe rub doors a little bit or something? That's racing. That's all great, but I wouldn't be concerned that he was going to wreck me, and that's what makes it so good. Yeah.
For those of you that are just tuning in right now, we're joined on the line by Tyler Brown and, of course, Bobby Piper here with us live, the promoter of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. And Tyler, you mentioned a little bit earlier about some folks that helped you out, and that friend that gave you just a little bit of encouragement, man. That was absolutely the right thing to do, to listen to that. It paid off big. But I know that you have a lot of people that help you out. And one of the things that we never try to do is to forget or neglect to give the drivers a chance to give their sponsors and their families some love. So here's your chance, buddy.
Yeah, I just like to, my biggest supporter is my dad, and without him, there's no way that I or we as a team would be able to do what we do. And I'd like to thank him and especially my wife for allowing me to stay at the shop late, biggest thing, and put in the hours that it takes to get the car ready and get it ready to go. And my mom, she's a huge help. And we have Charlie Shirley with Reeves Engines. Reeves RPM Performance does our engines, and I can't complain any at all about our engines. We've been pretty good in the engine department. And A-Rob Performance Parts and Fuel, they help us a lot with our really crunched down setups and get us on point. And Colin Signs, Kenny Collins with Colin Signs, always does a good job with our lettering. And my car will probably stand out a little bit this year. Me and him went with a little something different, did a throwback. So it's gonna be red with a gold number, and that's a little different. And you know, most of all, you know, thank the good Lord for allowing all of us to do this, and you know, have a bunch of good friends that like to compete and race hard against each other. And you know, it makes it fun.
Absolutely. Well, Tyler, we sure do appreciate you taking time out to join us, man. You did a great job on this interview, buddy, and right from the heart, we appreciate that. Our best to you and your family, and our best to you as far as racing goes for the entire 2015 season. And God bless you. Have a good evening. We'll look forward to seeing you Saturday at Cochran.
All right, I'll see y'all there.
All right,
Amen, man.
Thanks. Tyler Brown, the winner of the big payday last year, $5,000, man. That, if you never won another race, and I know that Tyler will, that's got to be something that, I mean, literally, I have never seen anything come close to that outside of a late model. You don't always see that in a late model race. But, Dale, let's see if we can get Andy Stewart up on the line. And, Bobby, one of the things that I was thinking about, listening very carefully, listening to you, it occurred to me, you don't see a lot of wrecks in the Super Street.
You know, when our series rolls in last season, we run 25-lap races.
Mm-hmm.
Our average caution count in 25-lap races was 3.
Man, that is.
I mean, that's a pretty amazing, and that's speaking for the guys.
Yeah.
You know, I was in the tower last week.
Right.
But in a 25-lap race to have a 3 caution average, that's pretty strong.
It's very strong, and folks get weary of like you said, the round and round yellow. Andy.
Yes, sir.
Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How are you, buddy?
All right, how you, Pastor John?
Well, we're doing good, man. Andy, we're joined right now by the promoter of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series, Bobby Piper. He's here with us live, and we appreciate you calling in. Want to get right to it. I want you to just give us an idea for those that may be tuning in. We've talked to a few guys that race in the series, Jottie Burgamy, Dustin Miller, and just got done talking with Tyler Brown. Give us an idea where your home track is, how long you've been racing, and just a snapshot of your racing career.
I've been racing about 30 years, started off in go-kart racing, and then I went to dirt track cars, and I drove from stock V8 to late model, and I just been racing for about 30 years. My home track's Modoc Speedway, and used to be Going Park Speedway before it got closed down.
Mm-hmm. Well, very good, man. I know that we've seen you travel into Georgia several times, and you know, with a resume like you've got, running late models, anything from go-karts to late models, what about the Super Street Series attracted you, and how long have you been running a Super Street car?
I've been running Super Street probably about, I'd say, 8-9 years, and just a bunch of good fellas to race with, and this series Bobby Piper put together is a real good series, and got a lot of good stiff competition.
Yeah, for real, man. For those of you that are just tuning in, thank you for joining us on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. We're on the line right now with Super Street driver Andy Stewart, and Andy from up around the South Carolina area. Where exactly is Modoc at, Bobby?
It is just on the other side of Augusta.
Okay.
What is it, Andy? About 5 miles from Augusta?
Yeah, about 5 miles from Augusta.
So is that Aiken? Is that where it's at, or?
No, it's closer to North Augusta. Basically.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, that'll put you, for, if my math is right, what is that, about a 2.5, 3 hour drive to Cochran, Andy?
It takes us about 2.5 hours.
Okay, all right. Well, my next question is this. Obviously, you were very complimentary of the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. First race of 2015 coming up this coming Saturday at Cochran. Are you guys going to be able to make it?
Oh, yes, sir. We'll be there.
All right, very good. Well, listen, Andy, I mentioned to you that Bobby is here with us right now, and know that Bobby wants to chat with you a little bit, and we probably got another question or two before we let you get out of here, but Bobby will be the next one to speak to you.
Hey, Andy, you know, if my memory serves me right, if my math is right, you have 3 wins with the Outlaws, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And, you know, you've raced, just like you said, you raced for 30 years and what have you. With the level of competition that's out there with those guys, what would you rate, you know, how would you describe winning those events, you know, to the general fan out there, to, you know, to how big a deal it is? Because, I mean, you've ran everything, late models, go-karts. What is it like to win one of those events?
Well, I mean, it's a good feeling to, you know, win one, because if we got 30 cars at that racetrack, you got 20 of them capable of winning at any time. It's just real good, stiff competition, a bunch of good, hard racers, the race clean. It's a good organization.
Good deal. Well, we look forward to seeing you this Saturday, man.
We'll be there.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the line with Mr. Andy Stewart. He lives just across the border up in South Carolina, up around the Augusta area, and been running with the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series for a while now and got 3 wins. And Andy, like I said earlier, if you were watching, we know how incredibly difficult it is to keep up in racing nowadays. Everything has just gotten so expensive. And on that note, I am thankful to the good Lord that gas is at least down a little bit. It even got down to right about $2 where I live. And now as the summertime's approaching, it's getting back up closer to $2.50. But Andy, obviously you've got some sponsors, you've got some family, you got some people that help you out. We want to give you a chance to give them some love and some exposure right now.
Yeah, I tell you, my wife and my family, usually I run family tradition on the back of my car. I've been running it for about 15 years. It's a big family thing, and my wife backs me 100%. My kids, they love it. And I just like to say thanks to Walter Newman that built me a good race car. And I think I about got my motor program back on track. Last year I had a lot of motor problems, and I think I about got it all back on track, man. Hopefully this year will be a better year.
Very good. Well, Andy, we sure do appreciate you taking time out to join us, man. And we actually aimed on getting to you a little bit sooner, man. But thank you for hanging in there with us, and our best to you and your family. And we wish you very, very much success in the 2015 racing season, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you Saturday at Cochran Motor Speedway.
Best of luck, Andy.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Andy Stewart, another one of those drivers and another guy that you heard him say, if there's 30 cars on the track, 20 of them could win.
Right.
And, you know, guys, when we are talking about the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series, we're not just trying to get you hyped up. Can't that many people be on board if we got some kind of scam? Right. This is good racing. And when you come and watch these guys race, you heard Bobby say 25-lap races, they're averaging about 3 caution laps a race, maybe even not that many. We've all been out there when we've seen them go round and round and round and round and round, and then we get a good race going, and then all of a sudden, you know, all of that goes away, and then we got to get the momentum back up. Right. You're going to see a lot of close racing in the Southern Outlaw Super Street Division. Your chance to see it next will be Cochran this coming Saturday for the Troy Talley Memorial Race, May 2nd, Cochran Motor Speedway. Come check us out. Dale, let's try one more time. Let's see if we can get the Chattanooga Flash from Ronnie Johnson.
Go ahead. Sure. You got it. No, you got it. Go ahead.
Ronnie, Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How are you, friend?
Doing great.
Man, we're so happy to have you, buddy. And for those of you that are just tuning in to the Deep Dixie Racing Report, we have got a legend on the line. They call him the Chattanooga Flash. He's been racing a long time, has come from a racing family, and still getting it done. Mr. Ronnie Johnson on the line with us right now. Ronnie, one of the first things I want to say is thanks for joining us, man. And you got to be one of the hardest working guys in racing. I can't count the times I've been to East Alabama, and I've seen Ronnie come with at least 2 cars and maybe 3 on occasion. Ronnie, how can you describe to us how much you love racing?
Well, I've been doing it for a long time. A long time. I grew up around these cars. My dad raced. He won the first NASCAR race they had at Charlotte Motor Speedway in 1960. And at the time, I was about 4 or 5 years old, and just grew up around them, and just, I guess, got it in my blood. And I knew as a kid what I wanted to do, and finally started racing when I was 17, and I'm 59 now, so I've been racing for over 40 years, and it's just what keeps me alive. So that's the best way I can describe it.
All right, man. Well said. Those of you that just flipped on to the Deep Dixie Racing Report, we're talking with the Chattanooga Flash, Mr. Ronnie Johnson. Ronnie, if I heard you correct, the only livelihood that you have ever had has been racing. Is that correct?
That's pretty accurate. When I got out of high school, I worked for my dad. He had automatic transmission shop, and I worked for him for a while. And he'd get upset with me because I spent all my time talking about what I'd seen on Sunday night at the races down at Rome, Georgia. At the time, I wasn't racing down there, but I'd always go down to Rome on Sunday nights. Well, not every week, but I'd go a lot of times on Sunday night, because you'd have a melting pot of Saturday night's winners from all over the South. I mean, you'd have guys that had won in Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, and the Carolinas, and they'd all show up over there at Rome, and it was just really fascinating to me. So worked for my dad there for a while, and like I said, I grew up around racing, but he would have rather seen me do something else, and I was just set that I was going to do it. So we kind of went separate ways there for a little while over things, like a lot of father and sons do. And I don't know if he never could decide whether to support me or try to convince me that I needed to do something else.
Well said, man. Ronnie, by the way, for those of you that are just joining us, we are on the line with dirt track legend Ronnie Johnson, the Chattanooga Flash. And Ronnie, I can't tell you what a thrill it is for me to talk to you, man. I remember way back in the day, I was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I remember back in the old days when Concord, which now it's Concord Motorsports Park. And I remember the old Hartsville, Darlington Speedway, Cherokee Speedway in Gaffney, South Carolina, way back in the day, man, the NDRA days and the Have a Tampa series and all that. You were in the thick of things then, man, and you're still going strong. My question is this. When I think about all of those legends, the Freddie Smiths, Mike Duvall, Buck Simmons, the list goes on and on and on. Who would you say is the toughest competitor you've ever raced against?
You'd be putting me on the spot there. I wouldn't even want to try to answer that. But all of those guys that you mentioned, were people that I got to race with and looked up to, and absolutely learned from them. Being from Chattanooga here, and again going down there to Rome on Sunday nights, and just seeing, I guess. As I was growing up, before the NDRA days, the guys that really were my idols, other than my dad, were the guys out of the North Georgia area there, from pretty much the Atlanta area and up into the mountains there, up towards Dawsonville and up in there. You mentioned Buck Simmons. I mean, Buck was just, I don't know how many times I watched that guy just sit there and hound somebody till the last lap, and they'd finally make a mistake and he'd win the race. And learned a lot from watching Buck, and was always a huge fan of Bud Lunsford and Leon Sells, Charlie Mincy, and even closer to home here, Leon Brindle, Snooks DeFore, the Ridleys, the Padgetts. We raced at North Georgia this past Friday night, and I was drove another guy's car, so I wasn't having to beat myself up, working on the thing. I was able to watched the other races on the track, and as I watched them, you know, I thought about all those guys that I'd watched race there growing up, and they certainly, every one of them had an influence, you know, in my racing at some point.
Yeah, very well said. We're joined right now by the Chattanooga Flash, Ronnie Johnson. Ronnie, if you keep up with this sort of thing, how many wins have you had in your career, and what is your biggest?
I couldn't tell you the exact amount. We've won a lot of races. When my mom was alive, she used to keep up with them. She's been gone for a long time, so I don't really know. It would be better than 500 and less than 1,000. That I guess that's all I could say there and be correct about it. But I tell you, the biggest wins are the ones that we have now. Honestly, to be able to do it and still be competitive, have a sense of accomplishment after the races are over, are very important to me right now. We won the Dirt Track World Championship in Pennsboro, West Virginia. Each of those, we won that twice, and each time it was $50,000 to win, and that was in you know, the early and mid '90s. So those were definitely my biggest wins dollar-wise. But I'll tell you, there's a huge smile that fills the inside of my helmet when we cross the finish line in first place nowadays. So just really proud to be out there racing. You know, I love the people, I love the sport. Just, you know, there's no better place to be than at the racetrack.
Yeah, right on, man. We're joined by Ronnie Johnson right now. And Ronnie, I say this because you alluded to it a little bit earlier. Started racing at 17 years old, and you are now currently 59. And I want to say to you, man, you absolutely get it done. Being a pastor, I obviously cannot make it to a lot of the races because of the travel and weekends and Sundays and things. But I have seen you race often at East Alabama, and you're always a threat over there, man. I've seen you win over there. I've seen you challenge for the wins. And I know that you've got your name on a couple of those big ones. Still getting it done at 59 years old, Ronnie. How many nights a year do you guys race on average nowadays?
I think we ran like 55 features last year, and I didn't realize we had run so much. But we followed and still do this year, follow the Neesmith series, and they had 20-something races, and we ran that 525 sister series of theirs. And I think we had maybe 12 races with that, and then those are my priorities now, to run those two series. But whenever we're not running with them, you know, we try to race locally. I've been driving a car out of Dalton, Georgia, that belongs to Richard Austin, an A19 car that different people have driven, and we've been driving that thing some, and that allows me to continue to race on our off weekends and let me focus on getting my car a little more prepared for those series races. But I think to be a good racer, you have to race a lot. I think a guy needs to race at least a couple of times a week, if not more. There have been times that we've run 80 or 90 races in the past, but I tell you, with any travel at all, and we're not traveling nationally like we did at one time, but just in the locally and somewhat regionally, you can race enough, and after a while you'll get tired and a little burnt out, and you won't even realize it. And sometimes you got to sit back, take a break to realize that you need one.
Yeah. Ronnie Johnson on the line with us right now, the legend from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And Ronnie, I know that every time I see that number 5 car, there are just certain numbers that just stick out, you know, and automatically you see that number, you know exactly who it is. You've been racing a long, long time, and I know that there has been some people that have helped you out sponsorship-wise, and there's been a couple of them that have some real longevity with you. Tell us a little bit about the supporters that you have.
Well, one of the
families that I couldn't leave out in an answer to that question would be the Miller family that I drove for from 1989 to 1995. Bob Miller, Miller Brothers Coal and Miller Brothers Construction. Bob passed away last fall, early winter. But that was a guy that had owned cars for other people, and just we raced with them or against them a lot in the East Tennessee area, and we got to know each other, and he gave me a chance. Like those two races that we won up there at Pennsboro, West Virginia, I would have never been at those races if it weren't for him or someone like him. And so that was that whole family has just been meant a lot to me and many others in dirt track racing. Right now, pretty much all my equipment is belongs to me, and I've got one guy I call my partner. He's kind of a silent partner. Scott Russell. He owns some of my crate stuff, crate motors, and one of the cars, and his name's not even on the car. Like I said, he just loves it. He'll come and work just like just like a volunteer helper. He doesn't go every week, but that's something that helps me out a lot. And again, we're racing Richard Austin's car, and him and Griffin and Zach Kinsey, and those guys work on that car down at his shop. So those are the main ones now. And of course, on the car we have Neesmith Chevrolet on the side of the car. They obviously sponsor the Neesmith series and do a lot for the sport in general, and that's where we're able to get all of our crate engines and all that stuff. And that's not terribly far from where y'all are at there. They're over. They've got a store over in Jessup and another one over there in that area in Georgia.
Right. We're joined right now by the Chattanooga Flash, Ronnie Johnson. And Ronnie, before I let you get out of here, again, a big thank you to you, buddy. And I've got a friend here that is joining me tonight on the show. His name is Bobby Piper, and I think Bobby has a question for you.
Yeah. Hey, Ronnie. My name is Bobby Piper, and to be honest with you, you don't know me from a man on the moon, but something I preach to these guys. We have a little series down here, and I race around Georgia and so forth. And something I preach to all our guys in this area and all is always pay attention to what you do, because you never know who's watching. The reason I say that, Ronnie, is all through the 80s, growing up watching racing and all, I've been very blessed, in my years of racing, that I've won, a fair amount of races. And the number on the side of my car is number 5. And the reason that number is number 5 is because all growing up through the 80s and watching, I idolized Ronnie Johnson.
Wow.
And
cool.
The point I make in that is, these people out here, they need to think about how they represent themselves and all that. And I idolized you like I did growing up because of how you carried yourself. And I just wanted to say, tip my hat to you.
Cool.
Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And, I say all the time, especially now, I'm getting a little bit older, and we're racing against a lot of younger guys, and it seems like they're even younger and being successful than in the past. And, I try to go out there and race and try to race hard, but I want to try to, to race the other drivers like I would want them to race me. And sometimes we all make mistakes, and sometimes we try to find our limits, and sometimes you make a mistake and you cross that line and cause somebody a bad night. And we try to keep that down to as much of a minimum as possible, but it would mean a lot to me when it's all said and done, and when it's all over, that that I had the respect of most of the people that I raced with. That would mean more to me than the wins that we've had.
Wow, I agree with that. And I just wanted to tell you that, and tell you how much some these people these days, you know, they don't realize, you know, you never know what that little kid over in the corner is watching and paying attention to what you're doing. And, you know, these racers need to think about that.
Absolutely, man. How cool is that, Ronnie? We got a guest here, and you know, we didn't really, as long as I've known you, Bobby, I didn't know that's why the 5 was on your car. But cool story, man. Ronnie, we're going to let you get out of here, but I wouldn't dare ask you to run down the entire schedule. But I guess I'm being a little bit selfish. This will be one that I'll probably be able to make or two. Are you going to be back at Alabama this year for the state and the nationals like you are every year?
I'm sure that we're going to the state race. There is, they've included our 525 series, you know, with the Alabama state race last year, and they're going to continue that there for a 525 race on Friday the 25th and another one on Saturday the 26th. So I'm sure we'll probably try to, we're going to run that class, and we'll probably try to run at least one other class. The nationals, who knows? We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what happens there. We've had so many rainouts and postponements and reschedules and stuff like that. It's hard to tell somebody a few months in advance where you're going to be and be able to be truthful about it.
Fair enough. And Ronnie, I want to tell you, man, thank you so much. Not only did you make my night, you made Bobby's night, and I'm sure the people that are watching, it's a big deal for us at the Deep Dixie Racing Report. We're just a couple of guys and gals that love racing, and we try to cover it. And to have somebody of your stature to call in and talk with us tonight, we certainly do appreciate it. And we wish you and your team, your family, the very best. God bless you and much success to you in 2015, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks to y'all for covering the sport. I say all the time that everyone involved in the sport does it because they have a passion for it, you know, in some capacity, whether it be a driver, a car owner, sponsor, flagman, you know, someone that's a part of the media. You know, everybody has a passion for it. And, you know, because of that passion, you know, we find our role in the sport, and I'm proud to be a part of the sport. Like I said, the folks in racing are, you know, I consider them to be my true family.
Right. Us too, man. Very well said. All right, buddy. Well, God bless you and have a good evening. We'll be following you this year, and hopefully we can do this again real soon.
Best of luck.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Ronnie Johnson, the Chattanooga Flash, and Bobby, we're getting ready to get out of here in just a minute, but I want to say, man, this is the 8th show that we've done. I missed one. I was on Lake Gunnersville a few weeks back, and that had been planned since fall of last year. And I have thoroughly enjoyed every single one of the shows that we've done. We've had outstanding guests. We've had some people that have come in and helped us, you know, with interviews and things like that. We've had a lot of people call. But I cannot remember a more enjoyable show than what we've had tonight, man.
Thank you.
It's been awesome. You did a great job. And, again, anybody that is looking for a place to watch a race or to come and race and be a part of it, Cochran Motor Speedway this coming weekend, Troy Talley Memorial Race, Southern Outlaw Super Street Series. Bobby Piper and his guys are going to be with us. They never disappoint. And before we end our show with prayer, again, my thanks to everybody that tuned in. Thank you for watching. We hear a lot of feedback. I don't have time to get on the computer and research everything. Neither does Dale, but we do know that many people enjoy this, and we sure appreciate it. And anybody that would like to come on board as a sponsor, please let us know, man. We've got one sponsor, 5-Star Hyundai of Warner Robins and Mike Hurd. That is a big blessing and a big help. But if anyone else would like to come on board, you know, we're going to give your business some love, try to give you some exposure. And we feel like that week after week that we're picking up momentum. We're picking up viewers, and we know that to be true because people are telling us that. So we do have a way of tracking some things, not everything on the computer. but we do appreciate you tuning in. Again, our thanks
I need to recognize a few of them that have been with us since.
Yeah, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple of people that's been real supportive of our series since day one. One that really gives to our drivers and every chance he gets at each event and so forth is Roger Laster with Last Air. I just want you guys to know that man, I think he works hard to give racers money. I just believe that about him. He loves the sport that much. For any of your heat and air needs, that I really wish you guys would keep Roger in mind. Headman Hustler Headers has been a great help and supporter for the series. Touch base with them for all your header needs. Team Edelbrock with Edelbrock, performance parts. They've been with us, and Sunoco Race Fuels. Howell's Machine Shop, Emory helped us for a good while there in the beginning as a tech man and all, and I still think the total world of Emory. And anybody needs any parts in the Cochran area, maybe give Emory a buzz. And I just appreciate the chance to be here.
Absolutely. Roger Laster was with us last week. Him and Mike heard both. And every one of these guys Bobby mentioned, I know most every one of them, great people that love the sport. Again, our thanks to David Ragan. David, if you happen to be able to revisit this or whatever, we really appreciate it, man. Very excited about the opportunity in that 55 car for you, Dave. Of course, Bobby and Kim Piper, appreciate everything that you guys have done, and the series got a good thing going there, man. Travis Williams, he's the reigning hobby champion at Albany Motor Speedway. Jottie Burgamy, Dustin Miller, Tyler Brown, Andy Stewart, and of course the Chattanooga Flash, Ronnie Johnson, man. It's been an absolute great show. And Bobby, I want to thank you for your help, man. You got to come back and do this again, man. An awesome job. And we want to close out with a word of prayer. And again, I want to say thank you to all of you that watch us, and thank you for your prayers. Our world is hurting right now, much more than I think we realize. We're so far removed from it. We're sitting here in comfort. We're not in rubble. We have clean water and a place to sleep. The folks over in Nepal, I have no idea how far or how high this death toll is going to go. 5,000 souls, heartbreaking, and that number sadly will most likely get bigger. Let's pray for those people. We're not here to question anything, but we are here to pray for them that are suffering. Our country, so much unrest, our police officers, their families, there's just so much going on. But you know what? I'm glad that the Lord Jesus Christ is still in control.
All right.
Lord Jesus Christ is still in control. He ain't nervous and he ain't in a bind tonight. So as we close out the show, we're going to go to the Lord in prayer. And if you're sick and you've got a special need, the Lord knows all about it, and we'll trust him to help us. Father, once again, we thank you for a good night. We had a good time visiting with some friends and talking with some folks, making some new friends. And we thank you, Lord, that you've given us a chance and the wherewithal to do this racing show. And Lord, while we want to talk about racing and all that goes into it, we never want to forget that you are the reason that we're able to do any of this. And we pray for our nation, our law enforcement, first responders, and our society in general. We pray for our world, especially those that are suffering in Nepal. Lord, we just ask that you be with us, every one of our racing family, those that are sick, those that are struggling. You know exactly what's going on, and we pray for your help and your encouragement. Just be with us, Lord. And to everyone that's going to be traveling to race or to watch a race, Lord, please give them safe passage on the roads, and give all of our racers protection. Let them have a good night, a good competitive night, but let everybody return home safely with no injuries. We just pray that you'll watch over us all. We love you, and we praise you, and we honor you. We thank you for your blessings to us, and we pray all these things in Jesus' name. All right, folks, that's going to do it for another great night here at the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Hope that you enjoy it. We enjoy bringing it to you. Again, our thanks to Mike Hurd, our friends at 5 Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins, Georgia. Of course, the good folks here at Rescue Smokehouse Grill. We can tell you about it time after time, but you're going to have to come see for yourself. Good food, good folks to serve you. Very affordable and a great atmosphere. Come on down here and check them out. They'll be open till 10 tonight. If you don't make it tonight, the weekend's always a great time to come. My thanks to all of our guests. Of course, my good buddy Dale Hall getting it done behind the camera. The hardest worker in the racing business here in Georgia, Dale Hall, no doubt about it. Bobby and Kim and their little granddaughter, Chloe. This is Pastor Todd Sharon saying, God bless you. We hope that you have a great weekend. We'll see you next time on the Deep Dixie Racing Report.
Bye.
Goodbye. Good job.